I can't wait for all the comments on both sides that are gonna call me out and start saying, Lego, you don't have all the context, you can't make this video, you can't talk about these guys because you just don't know the situations. Well, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna try my best to talk about these guys in the most appropriate way possible. And it makes for a pretty entertaining conversation because the Devils and the Rangers do play each other next. They're playing tomorrow, so this conversation can act as, I guess, a little bit of foreplay to the situation. But either way, we're talking about the two top players of the 2019 NHL Entry Draft, New Jersey Devils franchise center Jack Hughes, as well as New York Rangers winger Kaapo Kakko. Now, before we get into the entire reason we're bringing up these two guys, let's talk about their individual stories first. For Jack Hughes, this guy in the previous game against the Islanders got taken out by a pretty awkward hit delivered by Islanders winger Oliver Wahlstrom. This prompted PK Subban on the Devils to go out there and fight the guy. He pretty much had the upper hand the entire time when wailing on Wahlstrom, and he stood up for his teammate Jack Hughes in that altercation. Obviously, Wahlstrom is a former NTDP guy alongside of Jack Hughes, so it was kind of interesting to me to see Wahlstrom, of all people, go out there and deliver what was a pretty awkward hit on Hughes. And the reason I say it like that is because Hughes was kind of angled off to the side when Wahlstrom took him out, and so the way his skate was on the ice and the way he popped up, it wasn't the smoothest thing in the world, and you could definitely see that there was some tension there when he was taken out. Here's Dr. Harjas Gruwal on Twitter, who says there might be some concern for an MCL from this hit, but Dr. Harjal Gruwal doubts it would lead to much time off. The difference between this and the Kotkaniemi injury is that Hughes' skate was not planted on the ice. Also, there could be a contusion, which would be a day-to-day injury. This is all we have going off of some expert testimony as to whether or not Hughes will be out for a while. We also did have this weird video posted on the Twitter as well by Scott Layfield of Jack Hughes after the game walking to his car. Now, this is obviously like the creepiest video on the internet, so it's not really fair to go out there and judge an entire player's medical diagnosis from one video of him walking around, but that video still does exist for those who are looking for it. So when it comes to Jack Hughes and him potentially playing off against the Rangers tomorrow, who really knows? One thing's for sure, though, when it comes to Kaapo Kakko playing against the Devils, it appears he might not be able to get the green light either. Here's Molly Walker on Twitter. She says that Gerard Gallant said Kaapo Kakko and Kevin Rooney, who are still both on the IR, will miss at least the next 2 games. This was back on April 1st. After then, it is a possibility, Gallant said. They're getting better, that's for sure. Now, the thing with Kaapo Kakko is that this guy's been out for months. It's been a long time since we have seen Kaapo Kakko actually suit up for the Rangers, and at this point in the playoff push with the Rangers doing as well as they have been, I don't really think Kaapo Kakko getting back on this team is like the most important thing in the world. You got some bigger fish to fry out there in New York when you're talking about the direction of this team heading into the short-term future. Once he comes back, though, it'll be nice to see. It's been a long time, so I think a lot of Rangers fans are just kind of hoping that when he does come back, he is completely better and that the wait was worth it. Either way, though, the reason we're making this video is because when it comes to the way these two guys' careers have gone the past few years, it's kind of mind-boggling to see just the difference in direction here. For Jack Hughes, we have talked at length about how good he has been this year. 20 years old, 5'11", 176, a left-handed center, signed on till the end of 2030 with an $8 million AAV. He's got a long contract, and it's one of those things where if he goes out there and even does the bare minimum, it's going to be worth it. That's because this season he is over a point per game. He's got 56 points in 49 games played, on pace for 71 points over 62 games. Multiply this out by 82 games, and you have yourselves an even better statistic over here. Jack Hughes on pace for 94 points over a full 82-game season, and he's not even 21 years old yet. In fact, this season has been so good that it's boosted his overall point production in the National Hockey League to 108 points over 166 games played, good enough for a .65 point per game number. Shifting the gears a little bit, you go over to Kaapo Kakko and you see what he has done this season with the Rangers. He's at 14 points in 37 games played, on pace for 19 points over 49. And if you want to be fair and do the math for both of these guys over the span of 82 games, where Jack Hughes was on pace for 94 points over 82, Kaapo Kakko this season is on pace for 31. Now, if you take a look at the previous seasons, Kaapo Kakko in his first year had 23 points in 66 games played and 17 points in 48 games played in last year's shortened NHL season. Jack Hughes for the Devils had similar numbers, oddly enough. His first year saw him get 21 points in 61 games played, so 2 fewer than Kakko in 5 fewer games, but 2020-2021 is when Jack Hughes sort of started to bridge the gap into taking a little bit of a lead over Kaapo Kakko, where he had 31 points in 56 games as opposed to Kaapo Kakko's 17-point marker. In fact, this season has been so pivotal in changing up the status between the Hughes and Kakko debate that when it comes to Jack Hughes and his 108 points in the NHL, Kaapo Kakko legitimately has half the amount of points. Kakko, in his NHL career, has 151 games played, so he's got 15 fewer than Jack Hughes. Okay, that's not that bad. But Jack Hughes has 108 points, Kaapo Kakko has 54. And this is sort of when you start to say, okay, darn it, we really need to get Kaapo Kakko back in this lineup, and he needs to show himself off fast. Because when it comes to the race as to other guys getting the points and getting productive numbers in the NHL, of course, Jack Hughes is up there. He's the first player in the 2019 draft to reach 100 points. Kaapo Kakko is currently 4th in this entire entry draft when it comes to total points, and the guys above him have been doing their thing in fewer games played. Kirby Dach has 148 games, he's got 57 points, and then Trevor Zegras, who is 2nd in the entire draft class, has 63 points in only 88 games. Jack Hughes is a guy that I honestly see going out there and making this gap of points and games played a lot closer to 1 and eventually over 1 point per game as his career goes on. But right now, Kaapo Kakko has been sort of left behind by all these other guys. Now, good for him to be playing on the Rangers that are doing well, and he's actually going to have a playoff stint when he comes back because they're going to have themselves a run, hopefully, if Igor Shesterkin is able to do what it is that he's been doing this entire season. But on the individual Kaapo versus Jack debate, I personally find it kind of strange how quickly this race started to lean towards Jack's favor. Remember during the 2019 draft when a lot of people were kind of honestly debating that Kaapo Kakko should have gone first overall over Jack Hughes? There were some Rangers fans, I remember, that were cheering when Jack Hughes went first to the Devils because, Kaapo Kakko has already played against men, he's playing in a pro men's league, he's a power forward sniper winger, and the Rangers could use a player like that to bolster their forward core. Meanwhile, you have Jack Hughes, who was small and who didn't play NCAA hockey and who didn't do well in his first NHL season. He did pretty much the same as what Kaapo Kakko did. Their stats from the first year were very identical. But Jack Hughes nowadays, honestly, I don't want to say this because it's going to lead to some pretty bold conclusions about me in the comments, but when I talked about a few prospects in the 2019 draft, one of the biggest comparables that I liked to use was Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid, Nathan MacKinnon, guys like that. I said that Alex Newhook was a discount Connor McDavid, discount Nathan MacKinnon, discount Jack Hughes sort of player. What did I mean by that? I meant that when it comes to guys who create offense with their speed and with their puck handling, the guys who are the absolute just point guards of the team, Newhook displays that type of ability. You have Connor McDavid who displays that type of ability. He creates offense purely off of his speed and puck handling alone. MacKinnon is the same. Jack Hughes has started to do that a lot more this season than before, and you could definitely see the strength in his skating. He's shifty now. He's able to protect the puck a lot better. And he's able to evade pressure more, too. Jack Hughes, in the rushes and the offense that he has created this season for New Jersey, is starting to look a lot more, to me, like the Jack Hughes of the NTDP in 2019. There are shades of Connor McDavid there thrown in when I see this guy picking up speed in his own zone to the neutral zone, carrying the puck into the offensive zone and scoring a goal. And he's got a laser of a wrist shot too. Jack Hughes has improved his game so much that all the potential that a lot of us saw in him back in 2019 is really displaying itself at the National Hockey League level. Meanwhile, for Kaapo Kakko, it's unfortunate, but we just haven't seen that level yet, which of course, I hope that we do eventually, but it's just unfortunate that it hasn't been there yet. And so, talk to me in the comments all your thoughts about Jack Hughes and Kaapo Kakko, this entire debate that has been going on for the past 3 years, and where that debate is today. Do you think Jack Hughes has it in him to continue this pace and continue being better than Kaapo Kakko? Do you think Kaapo Kakko is going to close the gap as he gets older? I personally hope he does, but you can't be too sure. Let me know in the comments all your thoughts if you're a Rangers and a Devils fan, or a Devils fan, not and a Devils fan, that'd be kind of weird, about your entire opinions about the situation. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.